We shall start with the peace chant. Let's do it together. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Vunakatu Saha Vinyam Karvavahai Tejasvina Badhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, may the all-pervading spirit protect us. May the all-pervading spirit nourish us. May we work together with great energy. May our study be illuminating. May love and harmony dwell amongst us. Om, peace, peace, peace be unto us. So we are studying Katha Upanishad, one famous Upanishad. We have completed chapter 1 and now into chapter 2. So far we have seen some important ideas. The idea that which chapter 2 started is the two lifestyle, the seemingly good and really good, the feel good and real good. Feel good is the prayer which we like. It's pleasant to us, but there is such a thing called śevadhiḥ, which is truly will be good for us. So Yama said, those who choose which is really good over which feels good, but really not good, those people are the wise ones. And the questioner, the Upanishad, the young boy who is the questioner of this Upanishad is such a person. So Yama praised such an attitude of a young boy. He's firm resolved to know the truth. He says that this is an indication of a life which is based on dharma, which is truly good. Then came the question of a good teacher, ideal student. The beauty of coming together of an ideal teacher who can teach this Brahma Vidya, this particular knowledge or particular wisdom about our true nature. And similarly, a student who can grasp the teaching. When these two things happen, then miracle happens, Yama says. Then Yama also said that if one is taught about or instructed about this spiritual reality by a good teacher, an ideal teacher, then such a student does not have any more doubts left about the truth of the reality. Because there are various versions of the reality, various narratives about the reality, various paths, its own metaphysics, its own theology. So among them, which one is true for me? Which one is right for me? All of these doubts are vanished if this particular wisdom tradition, which this Upanishad is holding, if this tradition is taught by an ideal teacher, a good teacher, then there is no doubt left. Otherwise, there could be a lot of doubts. We try to understand these doubts in this way that we may get wrong interpretation of the Upanishads. Okay, Upanishads might mean so many things, so many ways. So if someone is not advanced enough or experimented really or tried to live up to the truths of the Upanishad, or for that matter, any scripture, then such a person's teaching may sometimes mislead us. they may try to teach something from intellectual understanding on. But these are not only matter of intellectual understanding. So last day we saw Sri Ramakrishna gave the example that such teachers, how do they behave? He says one Pandit, one scholar came and he gave an eloquent talk about God. And after saying all of these, the same scholar said that God itself is dry. We add our own bhakti, our devotion to make God sweet. So Sri Ramakrishna says that this type of people clearly have not understood the reality at all. They have not had any real, substantial spiritual experience. That's why they say such things. So, learning from such a person may be misleading. This is the point. And this was more important in the context of, why teacher became more important? Do you remember the previous verse? The previous verse hinted that why teacher is so becomes so important in the Upanishadic scheme of spiritual practice. Why teacher is so important? The Upanishad said something in the last verse. Do you remember?
But it cannot be realized by logic and reasoning alone.
Right. Thank you so much. So one of the reasons Upanishad say that by mere arguments or by mere logic as we know it, we cannot really get a handle on this spiritual reality. So if we think that by the force or by the help of our own logic alone we can crack what the Upanishad is trying to say, that may not be true all the time. There's a different type of intelligence is needed. It's a spiritual intelligence is needed, which is again dependent on, spiritual intelligence is dependent on what? Spiritual intelligence
experience.
Experience. Yeah, until experience happens, spiritual intelligence is dependent on
Intuition.
yes, intuition. And intuition, how we cultivate intuition?
Or
Sadhana,
Sadhana, upasana, nishitam.
upasana.
yeah.
Remember the analogy of bow and arrow. Okay. The arrow is our mind. And that mind has to be sharpened through the upasana. What is upasana? Upasana again is trying to focus our mind on that reality or try to be in the presence of that reality. Again and again, this practice is called upasana. But the logic or reasoning, the sharpness of mind, we usually understand they themselves are not enough for giving us any clue of the spiritual reality. We need intuition, and for that, we need to probe deeper. And this method of probing deeper and sitting with our mind for a considerable amount of time is called sadhana or upasana. What we call as meditation or contemplation, right? So that is where we were. So Yama praised an ideal teacher as well as an ideal student. And in that course of conversation, he said that teacher, student like you, Naciketa, is very rare, and such students are welcome always, all the time. We look forward to having such students like you. This much we saw. And now, next two verses are not that important verses. The two verses are almost opposite to each other. It's like a comparison. In the next verse, Yama would say that I means Yama, although he knew that rituals cannot give the highest, still he did perform rituals to go to heaven. And then coming to the realization that these are not also ultimately the real. Heavens and all of these are nothing but different types of experience. But real freedom means going beyond the identification with the little self. This is what the real thing is, real spirituality is. But Yama says that even I knew that the highest cannot be realized through the finite things like ritual. Still, I performed all of this to come to the understanding that these are actually impermanent. The more permanent thing is to seek that infinite, that highest reality. Whereas Naciketa, you, although you have been offered highest things that one can enjoy in this world, you understood all of this, even not going through all of these experiences, but you could intuit that all of these are temporary. All of these are not the what you are seeking, and you could relinquish. You can let go of all these desires, all these enticements, all these lucrative offers. You could let go. So it is almost like suddenly Yama is praising Naciketa, the student, that you appear to be wiser than me. Wiser than me. Although you have come to me for that knowledge, sure, I can teach you, but it appears that you are more mature than me. At such an young age, you could understand what is more important, what is more permanent, what is temporal. Whereas I, who is the teacher now, had to go through a lot to understand all of this. It is almost like the analogy is like this, when I here first took the behind the wheel test, BMV, behind the wheel test, and I was not so stressed about the test, and I did not took too many lessons. Only 3 lessons I purchased. Rest of the things is my friend taught me all, and so I did the exam in a relaxed way, and I made only 2 mistakes probably. Okay, so I passed the exam behind the wheel exam on the first attempt. And my evaluator from DMV, he said, congratulations, man. I also could not pass in the first attempt, means he himself could not pass it in his first attempt, whereas I could do it. But he was anyway the evaluator. So it does not mean that I could get through in the first attempt, means I am a better driver than him. But similarly, Yama is here telling Naciketa that Naciketa, look, I had to, although I am teaching you here, but it appears you are more mature in your decisions. This is the crux or essence of the 2 verses. Okay, next 2 verses. There is not much deep something to discuss. Okay, but we shall go through the verses. So Yama is telling now, jānāmi aham śevadhiḥ iti anityam. Nahi adhruvaiḥ prāpyate dhruvam tataḥ mayā nāciketaḥ citaḥ agniḥ anityaiḥ dravyaiḥ prāptavān asmi nityam. I know that the heavenly rewards of rituals are impermanent. The eternal cannot be attained through impermanent means. Therefore, O Naciketa, with this understanding, I have performed and realized the Naciketa fire using impermanent offerings as a step toward the eternal. So here we have to remember when Yama says that I have performed the Naciketa fire, means that fire ritual which just become known as Naciketa fire. Remember this, because Naciketa asked about this fire, right, which leads to heaven. And Yama said that he was so happy with Naciketa, he renamed that fire as Naciketa fire. Okay. So Yama says that I perform this ritual for God coming to heaven, and ritual you perform through what? Through things which are impermanent, like ghee, the butter, the wood, and all the offerings that we are giving into the ritual. These are what? These are not anything permanent. All of these are impermanent things anyway. So the logic is, how can we get permanent through impermanent means? So rituals are through the means. The means of rituals are impermanent things like wood and butter and bananas and vegetables and money, whatever. These are impermanent things. So impermanent things, how can impermanent things can bring permanent things? Cannot. But still, as a stepping stone, I performed the rituals only to come to the understanding that these rituals, people at that time, during that time frame, people were obsessed with performing rituals so that they can earn everlasting joy. That is the point of rituals, that after this life we shall keep on living happily. That was the point. And Upanishad is trying to say that no, that even if it is true, even if rituals can bring your heavenly enjoyments, remember, those enjoyments are also a kind of bondage. That is not also the highest thing. Highest thing is to go beyond all of these and getting established in your true nature, the presence alone. So that is the most important. So this is what Yama says, that I knew all of this, but still I did. Whereas in contrast, what Naciketa did? Next verse. kāmasya āptim jagataḥ pratiṣṭhām kratoḥ ānantyam abhayasya pāram stoma-mahat urugāyam pratiṣṭhām dṛṣṭvā dhritvā dhīrah nāciketaḥ atta sakshihi. Having seen the highest attainments of worldly pleasure, the basis of the cosmos, the endless rewards promised by ritual, and the great hymns of praise for the fearless state of heaven, Naciketa, firm in resolve, realized their limitations and turned away from them all. So Yama is praising Naciketa, that highest attainment of the worldly pleasure. And what is the definition of, and what is another attribute of worldly pleasure? It is the basis of the cosmos, jagataḥ pratiṣṭhām. Means the whole world is running only for pleasure. If there were no cravings, no pleasure seeking, the world would not have been the world that we know. Okay. So the world, the foundation of the world as we know it, as if is in desire and fulfillment of desire. This is what we are seeing in the world. This is actually samsara, that worldly pleasure. Having a pleasure in mind and then aiming, pursuing that pleasure, craving for that pleasure. This is what world is. This is how the world is functioning. And also, I also promised you the rewards of rituals. Rewards of rituals are heaven. I had already offered you that you can rule a huge area as a king. You can enjoy the pleasures that are unavailable to common human beings. I can give you all of this, but you understand their limitations, and not only you knew, but you turned away. This is what makes the difference between Yama and Naciketa. Yama also probably knew the impermanence of all of these things, but even intellectually, Yama could know, but Yama could not let them go. But Naciketa not only intellectually understand the limitations of these offerings, but he also actually let them go. This is a huge difference, right? Is not it a huge difference? It requires our attention. This one word, atma-sakshi. You know, Swami Vivekananda said that Upanishad is like a forest. In the forest, you walk through different types of trees and plants, sometimes bush and sometimes thorny bush, and suddenly at one corner here, at one turn there, you come across a beautiful bush. So Upanishads are like this. Here and there are beautiful flowers, if we care to notice. This one word that has been used in this last verse, the last word, atma-sakshi. This makes all the difference between a scholar and a spiritual seeker, a spiritual practitioner. That many of us really know, intellectually also know, that the things we are chasing are really hollow. What we are seeking won't give us the joy that we are seeking. We also know that we should probably invest more into our spiritual capital, spiritual health. But at the same time, we fail to do that. This become a secondary priority for us spiritual life. So although we know what we need to do, what we should not be doing, still we can be. Whereas Naciketa not only intellectually understood that these are all things are temporary, but he actually let them go. Actually let them go. So Sri Ramakrishna gives one story, says one story that in a small kingdom, that king wanted to listen to Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam is a scripture which is a scripture of devotion as well as wisdom. The path of knowledge, path of bhakti, both are highly developed, sophisticated in that scripture called Bhagavatam. So one scholar who used to come to the king to teach the king Bhagavatam, and also got paid for his job. And not only that, although he was a Bhagavata Pandit, but he was quite worldly, money oriented, and all of these things. So after each class, he used to ask the king that, O king, have you understood the Bhagavatam? And the king used to say, have you understood? Have you understood the Bhagavatam? The point was, the king wanted to say, if we understand Bhagavatam, which means giving away all these temporary pursuits for the sake of the highest pursuit. Okay. This is the essence of every scripture. That what is more important, what should be the priority of our life. This is driving home is the most important role of scripture. So Yama was telling that although I understood all of this, that these impermanent things cannot bring permanent happiness I am seeking, still I went for all of this. Whereas Naciketa, you were shown the best of the things, you were offered the highest of the pleasures, but you not only intellectually understood that these are not permanent, you could let them go. You could let them go. Not to criticize anyone else, but there is a saying in Uttarakhand. Uttarakhand means northern part of Himalaya. Northern part of Himalayas, where there are a lot of ashramas, and where Upanishad is, a daily discourse. Upanishad is what they study. Upanishad is what they breathe. Upanishad is what they discuss, think day long. There are some ashramas. So in that circle, there is a saying that never read Upanishad under a householder. Okay, never read Upanishad under a household. Why? The point is this: the Upanishad has many aspects to it, but the main role of Upanishad mainly is a moksha shastra. Moksha shastra means it will give us liberation, not prosperity. Remember this. Prosperity is not Upanishad's goal. Prosperity means everything. Even your dharmic life is also part of prosperity. But goal of Upanishad is to transcend all of these. Go beyond all these dualities of joy and sorrow, name and fame, failure and success, all of these dualities. Try to establish in our that pure awareness, our pure nature. That is moksha. And other than everything is bondage. Living up to our limitless potential is moksha. But living anything other than that is a kind of bondage. And bondage means what? Dukkham, suffering. So, as Buddha said, sarvam dukkham. Sarvam dukkham means what? Everything is suffering? No. Ultimately, no matter what, even if your life is a well-adjusted life, imagine you have enough of money, you have a nice house, your children are well established, well settled, well-adjusted life. Even if you have all of these, you cannot avoid the existential sufferings. Existential sufferings like body will age, your mind will gradually lose its sharpness, you will lose your memories, and known friends will be dying, no more. Known and loved ones will pass away in front of your eyes. This kind of sufferings, and moreover, many more bondages that we have created through our habits, a different way of thinking, which are not, which are holding us our full potential. Basically, all types of rigidity that we have created around our personality, these are all bondages. And even to lead a dharmic life, a good life, that is also a shadow life, actually. That is also a shadow life from the highest standpoint. Okay. That is also a kind of bondage. That is also restricting ourselves to be the identity of I am a good person. That identity also ultimately has to go. And this is called moksha. Those who are seeking that are actually what are, they are the real adhikaris or Upanishad. Upanishads are really for them. That's why in northern Himalaya, in the ashramas, there is a saying that you may or may not be a monk, but if you want to read Upanishad, read it under a monk. Because monk and nun, they have made moksha as their life, goal of their life. So they will be also emphasizing, illuminating, highlighting those aspects of the Upanishads, which tell us to realize our limitless nature. Okay. Otherwise, what will happen? These ideals we may easily bring down to our level, and may interpret in a way how to enjoy your life more in a better way. That is what we do, right? No denying to the fact we can take mindfulness, we can take yoga and all of these, take out the essence of it that will enhance our happiness, enhance our pleasure, enhance our worldly life. That is definitely human beings' nature. Okay. So if Upanishad is a moksha shastra, so it is for those who are ready to let go of all other types of pursuits in the pursuit of the highest. There is no denying to the fact. That is, those who can do that are actually the highest student. That is what Yama said. So why our study does not yield to the result? Two reasons. One is absence of a highly ideal teacher who has experienced. Secondly, for us also, can we let go of everything else for the pursuit of Upanishad? And if we look at your heart or heart, that the answer we will get no. No. For us, Upanishadic pursuit is not the priority. Is not priority. Even if we say yes, it is a priority, we will hear that the voice is feeble. We cannot say confidently, yes, Upanishad is our pursuit. Upanishad is our main priority. We cannot say that. Okay, that's why Yama is praising so much of Naciketa. That you could understand all of this and could let go ultimately. Let go. Okay. So only knowing and really doing the difference between, that is what Yama is praising. Okay. Any question? Go ahead. Any comment, question about this idea? Yes.
So, how do you consider Upanishadic teachings as a householder?
Yes, of course. Upanishadic teachings are for householder also.
So,
If householders are looking for the moksha part of Upanishad, moksha. Yeah.
but it will never be, from what you're saying, unless you become a monastic, you're not going to get, because it's moksha shastra.
Now, moksha shastra has everybody has adhikar to moksha shastra.
Okay.
But a monk are none. By occupation, they have given their life to moksha shastra. But it does not mean others cannot pursue moksha shastra. Is not it? Yeah. Yeah.
So Maharaj, it is saying that not just the theory, but the practice is also, practice is more
Yes.
important.
Yes, yes. Yes, absolutely. Practice what makes this experience. All right. So can we move on to the next verse? Next verse is also very important. In next verse, we find three important ideas. The first idea is about nature of this reality. Upanishad is talking about what is nature of the reality means nature of our true nature. What is our true nature like? And particularly why it is difficult. Why it is difficult to understand who we really are. This Upanishad, this next verse speaks about. Then the next verse also says, if it is difficult, then what is the means? How we can realize this reality? Is it only you are only talking about the problems? Why is the solution? Okay, problems are plenty. Then what is the solution to realize this? And finally, if we can realize our true nature, if we can come face to face with our true nature, what happens? What happens in our life? This is what the next verse is about. Tam durdarsham gudam anupravishtam guhahitam gahvaristam puranam adhatmo yoga adhigameno devam matva dhiraha harshashoko jahati. That self, hard to perceive and deeply hidden in the heart, ancient and abiding in the innermost cave of being, the wise, realizing that divine reality through the yoga of inner contemplation, transcends both joy and sorrow. Very important verse, I would say. It says so many things in so less words. Yeah. So it says finally it says that, okay, from where we start. Okay, let's start from the goal. The goal is if we can realize this our true nature, then harsha shoko jahati. One who realizes this their true nature, then they transcends both joy and sorrow. What do you think about this state, transcending joy and sorrow? Is it something viable, something really attractive to go beyond joy and sorrow? Is it a laudable something? Is it praiseworthy to go beyond joy and sorrow? How life would look like if we go beyond joy and sorrow? What do you understand?
It's going beyond duality. It's going to the non-dual state. So we really don't know what that is. I mean, experientially.
So do you mean to abide in the non-dual state all the time so that we lose the capacity to feel what is happiness and what is sorrow? Do you mean that?
Well, as described, when the non-dual state is first of all, I wouldn't say that the word joy might really be correct. It's more happiness that the word might be, because joy, in my understanding, is a state of being, as well as love and peace, and there might be some other ones that I don't know. So when we think of leaving sorrow behind and happiness, which is relative, and going to this state that is not yet known, but abiding in its totality only in the state of love, joy, and peace, then the answer would be resoundingly yes. I would want to do that.
Yes. One thing we have to remember here, harsha and shoka. Harsha means, being elated about after getting something. Okay. So it's not joy is not a correct translation I made. Okay. So really to understand the word meaning, harsha and shoka, one is elation, and shoka, you may say depression. So going beyond elation and depression. Okay. So this is the true meaning. Okay. So the true meaning of, going, what happens after realization is, it's not that we become numb to feel happiness, or to feel numb to suffering. Okay. So what happens, transcending happiness and sorrow means our life is no longer controlled by these elations and the depressions. That is, in other words, if we look, most of our time and energy we are spending in going toward things we like, or things which make us feel good about us, whether it is giving me sensory pleasure, or to a place where I am praised a lot so that I feel good about me. My ego is inflated. Those places, or or experiences which is pleasant, gives me an elation. Okay, we are always seeking this, and we are always trying to avoid what is painful, what is uncomfortable, right? What is uncomfortable. And sometimes it becomes they become very powerful. They unconsciously control our life a lot. Much of our life is in denying the painful part of our experience. How much energy is actually lost into avoiding which is painful in us. So we are as if tossed in between, these two things. We are always seeking something that will make me happy, or avoiding things which will make me unhappy. So the things in themselves making me happy or sorrow is secondary, but the way they are controlling my life, that becomes a primary problem for me. Okay. And to give an extreme example is how addiction works. Addiction. I know that I am no more liking it. The thing itself is not giving me any pleasure, but the thing is creating craving and craving more and more. More is what becomes important, not the thing itself. Not that I am enjoying it anymore, but the pursuit of more, that becomes the hook, and that becomes the painful thing. Okay. Similarly, so our harsha and shoka is subtly, unconsciously, consciously, we are living this life. We are trying to move towards things which elates us, and trying to avoid things which gives us pain. what happens is, when we understand our nature as the transcendent, open reality, which is limitless, nature of light, when we understand our, or at least intuitively feel about those nature, then we will see that gradually these bondages of things that which control so much by allure of joy or pleasure or the fear of pain, they have lost those strength in them. We still like and dislike things, but we are no more controlled by them the way we are being controlled. So the one inevitable thing about an illumined person you will see is how free they are moving around, how free they are, how flexible they are. And compared to us, you will see how rigid we become, how inflexible we become. And in the process, we're actually suffering. And this constriction, these bondages are actually hurting us, are not helping anybody, neither helping us, nor people around us. And nobody wants us also that we carry those bondages. But as if we have taken on our shoulders some boulders, stones, heavy stones, and we are carrying this. These are the bondages we go beyond. One of these bondages is the bondage of this being controlled by our likes and dislikes. Our strong like and our strong dislike, we will see this is at the root of many of our agony. Many of our agony that we go through, at the root you will see, at the root of all of this, strong like or strong dislike for things, people, ideas, and values, all of these become too strong in us, then we swing like pendulum in the under these two stations of like and dislike, harsha and shoka. Avoid shoka, avoid painful thing, avoid painful emotion, avoid weakness, avoid vulnerabilities, and go for sensory pleasure, go for ego pleasure, where my ego, even ego is subtly, very subtly it is being boosted, and I feel good about it. Because then it is, this is also a trap, ego trap. And so that is also harsha. I find joy in that, so I will be seeking. Where are the places where my ego will be boosted? Which are the places where sensory pleasure, I will get sensory pleasure? Shankaracharya says in Brahma Sutra introduction, this is true to all animals. All animals run towards pleasure, run away from pain. Human beings too mostly do that. But human beings alone also has the capacity to go beyond this bondage. Seeking pleasure, and seeking pleasure is not the problem, getting obsessed about pleasure. Seeking all the time pleasure and trying to avoid even minor level of suffering, minor uncomfort, discomfort, we cannot tolerate. That is, we are trying to avoid shoka at any cost. But when we come to realize, when we come to actualize our transcendental, that dimension of our nature, personality, then we will find that these things which are so much liked and disliked by us are actually like a dollhouse. For a children's, for children, a dollhouse means so much Their whole world is in that dollhouse. We cannot understand with what joy, with what imagination their whole life may be revolving around their dollhouse. It is so real to them. And if we tell them that this is actually, a dollhouse, not reality, it will not at all make any impact on them. Similarly, when we understand our higher nature, then we find that all of these things are like dollhouse. They are real. Dollhouse is not unreal. That there is no dollhouse. It is totally a magic. No, it is there. There is value. The doll has value. The doll looks, some of the dolls really, really look good. Barbie and others. There are some good dolls, bad dolls. All are true. And we have transcended the need for the dollhouse. We have got something better. Maybe I have got a better video game now that I don't play dollhouse anymore. Much better games. Maybe I am in pickleball now. It's more real to me than dollhouse. Similarly, when a wise person intuitively come face to face with their transcendental, unlimited nature, then all of these sources of so-called pleasure and pain, they remain. They still remain, but they lose their capacity to bind us. Capacity to bind us. And that is called moksha. Moksha is not, going beyond the cycle of life and death, and that we say, going beyond karma, going beyond the cycle of life and death. What do we mean by all of this? Nothing. Nothing. Because we ourselves are not convinced about that going through life and cycles of life and death are painful. We are just parroting that, moksha means going beyond the cycle of life and pain. Real moksha means going beyond all of these bondages. So moksha does not add anything to our life. Moksha is actually a subtractive quality, a subtractive experience. Moksha takes away a lot of things from us. It makes our life extremely simplistic. Moksha is like, one interior designer you call to make your house look better. Every interior designer will come and add and suggest, adds this here, add that there, add one more thing there, arrange the thing from here to there, replace this with that. Moksha is that interior designer who will come and say, you have already got too many. Actually, let go of all of this. And you will then find that your house, which you are thinking too small, how big it is. You have kept it, you have cluttered it with unnecessary things. That is moksha. Moksha is like telling us how much unnecessary things we are carrying on our shoulders. And that feeling that I am bound by so many bondages, subtly, unconsciously, this feeling is called mumuksha. Moksha swicha. That I want to go beyond all of these subtle bondages that are that has taken me as hostage. I can live much more spontaneously, much more freely, much more openly, and much more joyously if I can just let go of these bondages. So the verse promises that although knowing our ultimate real truth, ultimate nature is difficult, why difficult we shall see, but there is a method to do that. And if we can do that, then we can go beyond, we can transcend the elation and suffering. It means we transcend the bondage created by suffering and created by pleasure. We will no longer be controlled by our harsha and shoka. Okay, we give them far more value than power than they should have on our life. That is the promise of moksha. I'm sorry, I could not. I thought I will cover this verse, but suddenly my mood, turned towards the fact that why at all we should aim for moksha or such a state as going beyond happiness and misery. It appears to be such a state, why it is desirable to go beyond happiness and suffering. That's what anyone would say. Yes, I understand there is suffering, but there is happiness too, right? And there will be always their balance between them. So what the big deal Upanishad is talking about, going beyond suffering and pleasure. Yes, we understand in our life there is pain, but there is a lot of pleasure also. And the goal is to minimize pains and have more and more pleasure. Why Upanishad is speaking about going beyond both of them? Is not it's a very bland and dull life, not to have joy or sorrow? Is it like, living in a drab place? How can that be at all interesting and motivating factor? But if we look at it deeply, this is what it means. It is not going beyond happiness or suffering, but going beyond the power, happiness and suffering, uh, with which power, happiness and suffering controls of them. We are getting controlled by them. Going beyond that control is the freedom that I am no more constricted by, how much I can move, how much I cannot move, right? Imagine we had been in a country where, or in a place where you cannot walk in every block of your neighborhood. No, you can only walk certain blocks. Certain blocks you are prohibited to walk. Similarly, you cannot access all part of the city. Only some parts are open to you, some parts are not, you are allowed to. Will you feel free? You cannot go to every shop. Some shops only you can go, but not all. Will you feel free? No, you won't feel free. Okay. Similarly, moksha means not being bound by this or that. These will not control me. That what I can do, what I cannot do will not be controlled by external things. It will be under my control, intrinsic control. That is moksha. That is definitely a higher way of being. It is not bad, people who are seeking happiness and trying to avoid pain. That is also a good life. That is what human beings should do. But human beings can also go and beyond all of this. A life which is not controlled by these little things. This is such a grand thing human beings can do. And Upanishad says those who can do that, their life is meaningful, right? Others, mahati vinasti, a letting go of a great opportunity. And I have shared with you several times that neuroscience is saying the same thing now, that Brown University, Harvard University, they are now studying the brains of advanced yogis. That is, yogis who can enter into nirodha states. That is, those who can control their mind in such a way that no thoughts are generated. Or yogis who are always living in an open awareness, as if their mind is not fettered by anything. In such a state, they have been trying to live for many, many years, and that is their practice in Tibetan Buddhism and all. And these scientists, when they have, analyzed their brain pattern, they have found such a wave called gamma wave. Gamma wave, we all have. Very rarely we experience it. When we have, like lucid dream. Have you experienced lucid dream? When we are dreaming, at the same time we are aware we are dreaming. It is called lucid dream. It's very, very enjoyable state. Or you may think about daydreaming. You have passed onto a into a dream-like stance at the same time when you are not in dream. Those are the moments when gamma waves oscillates in our brain, and we feel extremely good about it. They found in this type of people who are always living in an open awareness kind of life, where they are not, they have gone beyond the dualities of pain and pleasure. They have seen that this gamma wave is ongoing, all the time present. And not only that, the amplitude of that gamma wave is literally off the chart. Off the chart. So if lucid dreaming is so much enjoyable, imagine amplify 10 times in intensity all the time. And they have concluded that this is a different level of existence. It is unlike human existence we understand. It's a different way of existing in the world. It's a very highly desirable state of being. That is, forget about mental problem. Actually, the mind, as if has lost its value, as it were. Mind has become extremely transparent. No waves, no samskaras, no karma is strong in the mind. So mind is very transparent and open slate all the time. These neuroscientists are telling this kind of life can be called the acme of civilization, the highest human beings can achieve. And that is what Upanishad is pointing to. So going beyond happiness and sorrow is not a dull state we may think of. It is, we have to remember, this is an extremely high way of living. It's a high state of living. Okay. A totally different way of living, Upanishad is pointing to. Any question? So we could not go into the details of the verse, but don't worry about it. Important verse, and the concept I felt important, so I went off script and spent so much of time. Feel free to ask if you have any question or any comment. Please feel free.
Maharaj.
Yeah.
Yes, Maharaj. I was just thinking this, it is the Durdarsham and Guhatitam. It is hidden behind all these vrittis and all. But the mind is controlled by this self that which is controlling the mind. And the mind, all the vrittis which is coming in the mind, the joys and sorrows which are coming through that only, which are controlled by them. If I understand these joys and sorrows, it is not permanent, then I can realize that guhatitam truth. But mind is on it is only giving us the feeling of this indriyas or mind or intellect and all. So how it is happening, like how can I go beyond it, like how can I go beyond this to realize that, because
Yes.
it is controlled by that atma only.
Yes, we shall come to that. When we'll come. We did not take the verse. I took only the last part of the verse, which is the promise of the verse. Okay.
Promise.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So to draw your attention to the importance of the verse, I took up the last part of the verse actually. Last two words. What happens? What happens if someone realizes aham? And how one realizes aham? And before that, actually, why it is difficult to realize aham. Okay. So we have not touched any of it, although I took up the last part of the verse. The third part of the verse I took up before going to the other part. Why it is difficult and how to go solve the difficulty. That we shall see in our next class. All right. Yes.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Yes. Yes. All right, then. See you then next Friday. We shall take up these verse and the next verse, almost in the same thing. Okay. So let's say Shanti, Shanti, Shanti together. Have a good weekend. We have Diwali and Kali Puja celebration this coming Monday in the evening. So, and in that for that occasion, this Sunday, I'll give a talk on the dance of good and evil. Okay. So it is an interpretation of Kali in a totally different way, my own interpretation of Kali. What Kali signifies, I have some ideas. That is what I will share. Okay. Why this Kali Puja, what it actually means. I will walk the deep psychology path, the path of deep psychology, and how Kali can be contextualized in the matter of deep psychology as evil and good. So those who can, please attend the Kali Puja, and also to appreciate the Divine Mother from a different perspective, you may attend the Sunday talk. Okay. Okay, let's say Shanti Shanti. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om peace, 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 peace.